Yeah, so actually, this is a topic that also I got asked in my school community, right? Because it's a topic that many language learners are facing, and of course, there are a challenge because we have so many, right? So there are different techniques that you can use. I always recommend, firstly, to always learn the opposites, right?
Hi all, welcome to our podcast, The Pommes Box. This is your host Shilpa and your co-host Sachin. So, today's guest has lived in several countries and built an impressive career along the way. She worked as a teacher, screenwriter, video editor, and today she also teaches German, creates content, and also runs her own school community. With her international experience and creative background, she helps people learn German in a practical and energetic way. We are excited to have Carolyn on our show. So let's welcome Carolyn to our podcast.
Hello,
Welcome,
Carolyn.
Carolyn.
Hello, guys. So nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Carolyn, you have worked in multiple roles, right? As I mentioned, like as a teacher, screenwriter, video editor. I saw all this in your profile. Yeah, a lot of roles. So we would like to know where this journey originally started and when did it move to teaching German? How did it all grow?
Wow, so the story is actually quite long. So it all started with my studies. So I started to study media and communication, and also media economics at a small town in Germany. And besides studying, I developed my excitement for teaching, because during my studies I took care of a lot of international students from abroad. So I handled the welcoming and all the bureaucracy, and also to organize culture events so they feel really welcome to Germany and also really connected to the German culture.
So, how is it now going with German teaching that you mentioned? You use the storytelling mode and music and communication way of teaching German. So, can you tell us a little bit more about it? How the teaching strategy is going on?
Yes. So actually, I was tired of traditional courses. It also has a lot of things to do with my own story, because I grew up in a very small town in Germany called Nordhausen, and I was quite an introverted person, a very shy person. I didn't know what my purpose in life was. And then I wanted to challenge myself. So at English class in school, I was never good because I didn't see why I should learn all these grammar rules and all these tables without real life context, right? So I was quite tired of it. But I set myself a challenge, and I went to the United States with only 18 years old to work there as an au pair. And when I got there, my school English didn't take me anywhere. I had to jump into the cold water, ins kalte Wasser springen, as we say in German, and I had to force myself to actually understand real conversations, respond to native speakers. I was also working for a family of 3 children, so obviously they didn't talk very slow and very structured. They were just children, so they talked. So that was really good for my language development, but also for my self-development. And yeah, then I had the kind of idea, okay, if I don't like to learn languages the traditional way, I also cannot force my students to learn the language the traditional way, right? So I was like, okay, I have the experience in media and communication, so I'm going to make language learning fun. I want to give them content that they can actually use in real life to understand native speakers, to immerse themselves into the language. So yeah, then I came up with this storytelling approach. So I developed my own series, and it's a series for experts in Germany. But during writing the series, I actually only planned to write 24 dialogues traditionally. But my school community, so the people who are on school, they actually gave me so much inspiration and so much motivation And I said, okay, I need to have a story that's also intriguing, that's also with mystery, to uncover some secrets. So actually, they want to watch the story, right? The series, but as an add-on, they also learn German. And this is what I wanted to achieve.
Interesting.
That's great.
I mean to say, did you create this on your own, or did you see that this method was already successful and then you thought, let's do this and apply the same in German? Because basically telling for language learning, there are different methodologies, right? If you really go deep, there is this crash and method or comprehensible input where you make things very familiar before we introduce new things. So I also believe like storytelling is also one way of doing it. So did you like go into a research, or you wanted to do this on your own directly?
So there are some stories, right, for German learners, but they are basic, I would say. Also, so they cover the events in German. So, for example, going to the supermarket, going to the bakery, or getting lost in the city, right? But I really went into character development as well. So I wanted to develop characters that are really, really intriguing, not just you follow Max goes to the supermarket and buys an apple. That's it. No. But in my storytelling, I wanted to incorporate the challenges that experts actually go through, right? With all the German bureaucracy, the fast cashier, right? In the supermarket, and the waste separation, yeah, the separation of rubbish. I wanted my character in the story to go through all of these situations, right? All of these challenges. So the German learners or the experts that live here can actually also learn from the mistakes. And yeah, then it also developed into this kind of mystery series, because in the middle of the episode, so it starts out with a normal expert story, but in the middle of the episode, we actually see why she's actually here in Germany, because she wants to uncover her inheritance. So she received a letter from her grandmother that her inheritance is actually in Berlin, and she needs to uncover where it is to find also her story, to uncover her story. And along the way, she meets different characters that challenge her as well.
It's like Nico's. There is a series in German, Nico's.
Nico's Weg.
Yeah, Nico's
Because
way.
yeah.
But that's different. He's coming from Spain. But yeah, along the way, when you said things like you meet a lot of characters, just trying to connect that way. Brilliant, brilliant idea. And do you also have this available already to the audience?
At the moment, it's actually in my school community. So the school community is free to join, and also the series is free. But I'm also planning to upload it to YouTube or also to my Instagram later, so more people can benefit from it.
So we'll also
Thank
drop
you.
in, we'll also drop in your school community link, which you shared with me, like in the description here. So
Yes.
many of us can check that out. Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit diving deep into the language now. So a lot of people learn vocabulary, like simple one, complicated one. Everybody have their way of learning the vocabulary. But when they really try to remember this vocabulary, it's sometimes a challenge. So do you have like any particular technique that you use within your students to help them remember such words?
Yeah. So a quite good approach is to use the spaced repetition method, because how does our brain work? Okay, we learn a lot of things, but we also forget. So the words we are forgetting more, we need to actually repeat more often, and that's why spaced repetition is really good. So there are certain apps, for example, I use a lot of flashcards. I always recommend flashcards to my students that use these spaced repetition. So the app actually remembers, okay, what words you already know and what words you don't know. So the words you don't know, you repeat more often to actually make them stuck in your head.
Okay, awesome. I mean, we are also big fan of this flashcards.
Flashcards.
So I use Anki. She
I use
uses
Quizlet.
Quizlet.
Quizlet, yeah, I use Quizlet, yeah.
But is flashcards also an application, or you meant Quizlet in general?
Yeah, Quizlet, yeah.
Quizlet, okay.
When me, I initially wouldn't do this. I was not doing this very often. Yeah, but now I just started with learning B1 German. So now there is a lot of words and I tend to forget many of it very often. So I started with flashcards very like intensively on making flashcards for the words.
Especially when people are taking a class like with a Goethe Schule or Volksschule, they literally learn a lot of words because the book is full of words and stories, exercises. So everything they come across is new to them, and yeah, most of people doesn't know how to remember such words because the teachers never tell, okay, you have to use flashcards, there are so many vocabulary. They just move on teaching stuff. So that becomes a challenge for the students. One more thing is there are different like verbs. For example, when you take machen, like aufmachen, zumachen, anmachen, and for halten also, right? Enthalten, or for me, like spulen, abspulen, vorspulen. And this kind of gets like really challenging at
Challenging.
one point. So probably it comes with experience. Things, you repeatedly do it, then it becomes like you remember them in your brain. But do you have any technique here to crack this one?
Yeah, so actually, this is a topic that also I got asked in my school community, right? Because it's a topic that many language learners are facing. And there, of course, there are a challenge because we have so many, right? So there are different techniques that you can use. I always recommend, firstly, to always learn the opposites, right? So if you have aufmachen on one side, you have zumachen on the other side, because then our brain can connect the opposites better. And I also always say, learn the language with all your senses. So next time you do the dishes, say it out loud. Ich spüle das Geschirr. Ich spüle das Geschirr. Yeah? So always have a lot of output as well. Nowadays, we have so much content online, right? We can have so much input. But actually, if we have too much input and no output, this is not good, right? So you should have, I would say, input, but equally you should have as much output as well. So languages is about talking, right? So you can talk to yourself, all the activities you do, right? For example, ich spüle das Geschirr oder ich mache die Tür auf, ich mache die Tür zu. And always do the movement as well, not just have it on paper, but also connect it with the movement.
That's very, that's going to be very beneficial, I think, because as you mentioned, when we say it out loud, I think we remember it very often.
Yes.
Yeah, or it stays with us for a long time.
I love this advice as well, multisensory input when you said, because I was reading a book on memory, and for the brain to remember, you have to make weird, or people cannot remember abstract things. So they have to really exaggerate and experience the smell, or make it more colorful, right? Making use of more senses. So this is really a good one. I'm going to try. And there's also remembering this ab or su, the real meaning of these words, right? Then that also should be helpful, right? Because then people can easily attach to any verb and probably make words as well.
Yes. Actually, most of the courses, they teach you machen, and then they teach you machen, but with all the different prefixes. This is actually the wrong way to remember them, because we should start always with the prefix itself. And then another hack would be to make a mind map, right? So you put the prefix in the middle, for example, ab, you put in the middle, and then you put all the different categories, and then your brain can also connect it. And also always try to visualize the word itself. You can Google, for example, you Google, okay, what is abwaschen, for example, right? And the meaning of these prefixes is also really good to see because ab is always something that goes away. So abwaschen is actually you wash off the dirt of something, right? So abwaschen, yeah.
Yes, this is where I was really trying to get because sometimes it really helps because when all of a sudden somebody comes and tells you a word, then all you probably know is maybe the ab and version separately, but never heard ab version, and then you can like probably make sense out of it.
Yeah.
Great advices.
Yeah, this should be very helpful for learners like me.
Yes.
Yeah, even this happens to me many times when you just say machen, okay, yeah, I understand, but when the prefix adds in and I'm like fully confused,
Yeah.
I cannot get the exact meaning with what the prefix means and things like that. This should be really helpful for all of us. Yeah. Okay, so Carolyn, with your experience as a teacher, what do you think the mistakes which a beginner or an intermediate and an advanced students make? And can you give us a fix or kind of advice to fix these issues?
Yeah. So, and this happens if we translate it directly from English, right? And then I would say at an intermediate level, so if you already know the grammar, if you know all the rules, then a lot of students, they have the fear of making mistakes, right? And this is the mistake itself. The fear of making mistakes is the mistake itself, right? Because we are humans, we make mistakes. Even native speakers make mistakes. So really don't be afraid of making mistakes because you can only learn from them. If you never make the mistake, if you never talk about it, then you block and you would not learn from it, right? So this is the number one reason. And another thing for an advanced speaker is to sound like a textbook. Right? So you learn all the things from normal German textbooks and you might read different, German texts, but then native speakers, we don't talk like textbooks, right? So you should focus on real life conversations, on different words that natives actually use and also on connected speech. When we talk, we also use a lot of connected speech. For example, we write Ich habe eine Tasche, but in connected speech, we take off the I from habe, we transform the eine into n, and then we would say, ich habe eine Tasche. Ich habe eine Tasche. You hear the difference?
Yes, yes. And I guess this was also there in your latest video, like hast du, right? Bist du.
Hast du, bist du.
Bist du, yeah, right.
Yes. So.
Good one. Even I had the challenge. The first time was ich bin hungrig. Like I just translated to I'm hungry. But you say ich habe Hunger, right, in German. But yes, I mean, it helped because I made a mistake, got a bit embarrassed, and then I never forgot it. So then the second advice of like fear of making mistakes. That is also one more thing. Like a lot of people are like really afraid of making mistakes. And I always say that's just the beginning of your language learning because always B1 or B2 is like the tip of the iceberg. And there are like a lot of things like which happens beyond. But nowadays with the AI applications everywhere, do you also suggest your learners to use such applications? Because, some are really good at making like real like conversations or ChatGPT, talking to ChatGPT like a real native and stuff like this, right? So have you tried such approach or do you also recommend such approach?
Personally, I have not tried such an approach, but I would say if you have too much fear of talking to real people, then you should definitely use those kind of applications, right? If you want to overcome this fear, then I could recommend this. But yeah, if you just want to focus on conversations, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think the extra motivation comes from other people as well, right? If you don't feel alone in your language learning journey, but if you find a group of people that are on the same situation as you can share maybe mistakes as well. Yeah, I made the same mistakes, and how did you overcome this challenge maybe? And then you can help each other, which is why I also founded my school community, right? Because I see so many people are connecting and they have maybe the same hobbies or they face the same challenges. And it's so good to see the dynamic, how they write within school, right? They're really active on there and they're getting to know each other. And then when we meet live within the group calls, you can just feel that there's a great dynamic between them when they do the role playing or, talking. And they really, they don't feel afraid of making mistakes when they're in the live calls, I would say.
That's,
yeah.
She can agree more on this.
I could relate this really well because recently I started. So, initially when I was doing self-studies, I tend to speak less, just learn from the books and then wind up. But in the group classes, when we speak and all of us, sometimes we are all in the same direction or in the same level and we can understand each other's better. I've always felt that brings in a feeling like it's okay to make mistakes. No one is going to judge you there, and it gives a safe environment for us to speak a lot, make mistakes, and learn from there. I really agree to that point of view. Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
So, you wanna go next?
So going furthermore on learning German, a lot of people don't have too much time. Some people have more time, some people less. Some people might invest 1 hour to 2 hours to 5 hours, whatever. But some people only have like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, right? Because people also get lazy at one point to study German. For example, if you're at B2 or a C1, then as long as you're not taking part in an exam, you're going to learn really less unless you're really motivated. So do you have if somebody is investing 1 hour or 10 to 15 minutes per day, what do you suggest them? How can they learn better and faster and effectively?
So I always suggest them to really see what kind of situations they want to improve their German in daily life, right? In daily life or also in a business situation, maybe at work, right? Or to talk with their German colleagues, maybe if they work in a German company here. So I would really recommend them going through the different situations where they would like to improve their German, right? And then I would focus on mocking up some role playing, right? So imagine yourself, you are in this scenario. What could the other person in this situation say? How could you respond? So that you have these, we call it Redemittel, right? So different phrases that you can actually use in these specific kind of situations. So I would focus on that. And as I said, the output is equally important as the input, right? So don't just consume a lot of German in this 1 hour, but also have equally output. This is very important. So you could, talk to yourself, or you could use the shadowing technique, which is like an imitation. So you listen to a native speaker talking, then you pause and you try to repeat the same sentence with the same speed and the same melodies. So the output is actually quite important as well, as equally important as the input.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense, because when you're focusing on always studying, most of them are thinking, okay, how much I can consume, right? Your advice of producing equal output is also, hope it's going to be really effective.
Yes, and repetition as well with flashcards.
Yeah, because I feel it's equally important to catch the melody and tone in which the native speakers speak. And that's something what most of the expats lag. Like when we speak, we always tend to quite relate to our native language and we speak in that same tone. And doesn't work. Yeah, sometimes even it's very difficult for people to understand us when we speak with another tone or different tone, like from English or like from other native languages, and it changes the way people understand us as well.
You mean
when they
accent?
speak. Accent and the tone of what you speak also, right?
Like aggressive tone or a happy tone?
Yeah, kind
Like
of.
that.
And also the emphasis on the different words,
Words.
makes a difference.
Yes. Even if you don't make proper pronunciation as well, then the native people will have hard time understanding you. That is also something that I have seen.
Yeah, so focusing on pronunciation from the beginning is actually really also the key. You do not necessarily need in day-to-day life, you do not necessarily need a lot of vocabulary, but if you really focus on clear pronunciation of forming, rather than forming huge sentences with complicated German structure where the verb goes to the end, like this, I always suggest that you make smaller sentences, but right sentences, right? And also focus on the pronunciation. It was the same with me because I lived in Brazil for 4 years and I had to learn Portuguese from scratch, right? And in the beginning, the pronunciation was quite different, was quite hard because they have a lot of nasal sounds in Portuguese, right? So different from Spanish. Spanish is a very clear, you say all the letters as they're written, right? So, but Portuguese is quite different. You have the nasal sounds, and if you do not, for example, if you talk clear and not with the nasal sound, it makes it other different word, and then you have two different words. Yeah. But everybody complimented me there on my pronunciation because I focused more on the pronunciation, and also I focused on the most common words. This is also another tip if you're just starting to learn German and then you are overwhelmed with all the different words. I would say focus on the Pareto principle, which is you learn like 1,000 words or 2,000 words in the German language, right? And then it lets you cover already 80% of day-to-day interactions.
What was it called? Pareto?
Pareto principle. It means 80-20. 20.
The
So,
Pareto principle, yes.
so you learn 20% of the
Yes.
German vocabulary, but you can use it in 80% of the real life situations.
And these words are most used words in the language, right?
Yes, most common
Most
words.
common words, yes.
Yeah.
And I have seen literally the flashcards on memorize for the first 1,000 words or 1,000 to 2,000 words. They're
Yeah.
like already flashcards available, so people don't have to even struggle
Yes.
making this 1,000 words.
That was really a bunch of very helpful tips for 1 hour of German studies every day. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for that.
You're welcome.
So,
Yes.
you want to start
Now
with the next one?
let's go a little bit deep into culture. Internationals have challenges, or they're confused how much Trinkgeld or tip they have to give when they go out to a restaurant. So, what is the general rule for giving Trinkgeld in Germany?
So, other than in the States, for example, the people who work in the service here, they don't depend necessarily on Trinkgeld, right? So, if you, for example, it would be, a little bit rude to not give any Trinkgeld, but if you're not satisfied with the service, then it's okay, right? In German, everything is really forward. If you don't like something, you can clearly say it. You will not lose your face when you say something, oh, I don't like this, right? So you don't necessarily need to give if you don't like the service. And that's okay, right? Normally, you could always round it up. It's very common to round it up, right? So for example, if you need to pay something for 8 euros 70, then you say, okay, make it 10.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you always round up.
So you say like not the same bitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any phrases there for the Trinkgeld?
Yeah, we can say stimmt so. So for example, if you have a 10 and you don't need change back, you could say
Okay.
stimmt so.
Stimmt so.
Stimmt so. Oder machen wir 10.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those are very good expressions that people can use. Thank you. Does people, for example, if somebody is just having a cappuccino, right? So do you still offer Trinkgeld? Because in some cafes, when you're paying, you can also get the options to choose the Trinkgeld, like 3%, 5%. So how much do you think, like, does somebody, because in India, if somebody is having a tea or coffee, then it's probably not that common to pay Trinkgeld because it's just one tea or one coffee. Yes, but if you're like really having a lot in a restaurant, yeah, then it makes sense to give a tip. So is there something like that in Germany as well? And is there also a percent?
Yeah, so you can decide if you want to give Trinkgeld. When you also pay
Yes.
with card, there's an option. I would say if I get my coffee or my tea at the counter, so if I don't get the service, like I sit down at the table, then somebody comes, takes my order, and then brings me the thing. But if I get it myself, I usually don't pay Trinkgeld, right? Because I order myself, I'm waiting in line, so there's no direct service of taking the order to me, right? But if you sit down at a table, then usually you give Trinkgeld.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's more like a service.
Service.
They're getting paid for the service, right?
Yeah.
And um, earlier you mentioned that you round up to the number, right? The highest number. So is there also a percentage that you calculate?
Yeah, about 10%, I would say. Yeah.
So 10% is a common like percentage what we choose. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So Carolyn, as a female here, like coming from India, or I would compare it with any other person coming here. We have seen that Germany always, or the German women's here always visit the Frauenarzt. I've heard that every 6 months we regularly have a follow up. So this is what even my Frauenarzt told. So every 6 months you get a follow up, which in my case, if I have to compare to my native place, which is not the case. So you visit only when when there is really a need or you have some purpose. Only then you go there. And I've also heard that here. Like from your teenage itself, go for the regular checkup with the Frauenarzt and things like that. So, how does this work? Like, what's the intention behind this? And is there something what the female expats should learn from this, like, or try to utilize something from here?
Because yeah, they also pay for the Krankenversicherung.
Yes. So it's actually mandatory to have Krankenversicherung, so the health insurance in Germany, and therefore we also take this regular checkup quite seriously. Especially if you go to the gynecologists, so Frauenarzt, they check. It's a prevention for cancer, right? So the general checkup, and it's really good that. Before something worse happens, right? That you have a regular checkup, and also there's also some regular checkup recommended if you turn 35 here. Then you also go more to the Hausarzt, which is the general doctor, to have a checkup, to check your blood and everything. Yeah, it's quite
common. This is something what surprised me as well, which we don't have in our home country. And as you mentioned, this is like, I have also gone through the test. It's more like about the cancer prevention kind of test. So it's always good to have this checked. Yeah, like as a precaution, it's always good to get this done. Yeah.
yes.
But I had one question follow up. So is it also the same for the young people? Because I've seen like a lot of old people in Germany, they block a lot of appointments with the doctors, and the practice have really difficulty, to give appointments to people who are really in need. So how is this? Is it like all the young people also like equally schedule this, or old people as well? And what do you think is happening?
Yes, you can use it even when you're young, but when you're old, it's more recommended that you go to even more regular checkups. Yeah, the older you get, the more checkups are actually recommended. Appointments you need to make in advance. So some months in advance, 2 months in advance, 3 months in advance, maybe 6 months in advance. It really depends on the doctor. But I always recommend, so for example, if you're planning to go every 6 months, then after your appointment, already make the next appointment, right? This is the best way, because you cannot expect, with so many people going there, you cannot expect that you get an appointment within 2 weeks. But there's also a difference between gesetzliche Krankenversicherung and private Krankenversicherung. Yeah, so if you are a privately insured, you also have more benefits of getting, for example, a faster appointment or something. Yeah.
Okay, so just to wrap there, do you have any advice for female expats regarding the Frauenarzt or the healthcare stuffs or the healthcare system in general about here in Germany?
Yeah, so as I said, make always appointments in advance, right? And try to really tell everything, like feel free to tell everything to the doctor. Don't hide anything, don't be afraid of hiding something, because in Germany the culture is quite direct, right? So if you have a problem, talk about it, and yeah, then don't be afraid of actually saying no. This is also not just for Frauenarzt, but in general, right? If you are in a business situation or any kind of situations, for foreigners, Germans might seem really direct, right? And this is maybe a little bit different from when coming from abroad, but you will get used to it. And if you make an appointment, you know that 99% it will actually happen, right? Yeah.
Okay, thanks there. And so let's now move to a fun section. Yeah. So here we have a small riddle. First one is a small riddle. So you want to ask that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one. Ich spreche ohne Mund und höre ohne Ohren. Was bin ich?
Wow. Ich spreche ohne Mund und höre ohne Ohren.
Yeah.
Was bin ich? Wow. I was not expecting this.
That's why this is a surprise fun round. But it's okay. I mean, it's not something to test your German level or something. This is just to be fun, okay?
This is just
So eine Hinweis or hint is like, it has something to do with sound.
With sound. With sound.
maybe.
This sound talks to you back.
The echo. Yeah, we say echo.
Echo, yeah.
So it has this ich sound, the same.
Yeah,
as So we'd call it the soft ch.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
echo.
what I thought.
So it's ein Echo. Yeah. Okay.
An echo.
You want to do the next one?
Okay.
You try.
No, maybe you go with the first one. Yeah. So here we'll be giving you 2 words. You need to tell us which is the correct German word and which is a fake German word or fake word. Yeah, it's not a real word in German. Okay. Yeah.
So the first one is Backpfeifengesicht. Okay. The second one is Schnellkartoffelhaus.
Yeah, so Backpfeifengesicht is actually a German word.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So
Do you want me to explain what it means?
that would be great to hear the meaning as well so people can learn.
So it's actually quite funny because it looks like Backpfeifengesicht. So we have Gesicht, right?
Yes.
Das Gesicht. And Backpfeife is actually this, a slap, right? So it's a face that you want to slap. Yeah, if somebody has a face but you want to, slap it or pop.
That's great. So you get the thumbs up there. So the next one, it's Fremdschämen and Volkenkratzerhose.
Fremdschämen is the German word.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you wanna explain quick what this would be like?
Yes. So it's actually, I don't know if it exists in other languages, But this is also something that, it's quite unique to German because we have schämen. Schämen is to be ashamed of something, right? And fremd is foreign. So fremdschämen means if you get ashamed of a thing that another person does. Yeah? So not that you do yourself, but something is so shaming that the other person does that you use this fremdschämen.
Really a
Yes.
nice word. Yeah, I don't think we have this in. I mean, the languages which I know, I don't think we have a word for in this particular.
Yes, there are some words like this. Even the word Schadenfreude, this is also my favorite word. This doesn't exist in it's yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the third one here. Yeah.
Ohrwurm, and the other one is Wurstgefühl.
The first one was Ohrwurm.
Oh, yeah, Ohrwurm.
Yeah, Ohrwurm. Yeah, this is also the German word.
Yes.
And we say this for a song that is stuck in your head. You know,
Yes.
you sum the melody, it's always in your head, and you cannot get it out. Literally, it's an earworm.
Right. Exactly. This happens a lot to her. She goes to Instagram and suddenly finds a new reel with a new song, and she
Yes.
keeps singing that. So she has literally the ohrwurm problem.
Yes. Have you listened to my song?
No.
Yes, because I just published my first song.
Okay.
Then
No. We have
we
to.
missed it. We have to hear
Yes.
it. I will listen soon and then get back to you with the reviews.
Yes, it's called Sonne von innen, so sun from within. And I wrote this song. It's based on the series that I just told you. So it's actually the sound for the series, the soundtrack for the series.
Awesome. I mean, with the voice like this, I guess.
It should be anyway lovely to hear that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And where can we find this song now? Like,
You can find it on all music streaming platforms.
Okay.
So Carolyn Köhler is my full name, right? And then you can find all my publications. I already published 2 songs.
Okay.
great.
Subscribe and follow you there.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a K umlaut HLAR, right?
My last name is K-Ö-H-L-E-R.
Okay. Killer. Okay. Carolyn.
Okay, definitely. So now we'll just quickly move to the rapid fire. We have a few questions there. Quick, yeah. So Germans choose cycling or trekking?
Which one do they choose?
Boah, that's a hard one. Because they're
Good.
cycling.
Cycling.
They say unterschiedlich, right? Or when they get confused, how do they German say? Next one. Your top cartoon suggestion for someone who is at A2 level.
Who is at A2 level? I would say Janosch's Traumstunde.
What's one small thing foreigners can do to make Germans like them more?
To make them like them more, schedule proper appointments and actually be on time. Even when it's just with a friend, be on time or be there maybe 2 minutes earlier or 5 minutes earlier.
Pünktlich, yeah.
Pünktlich, genau.
Okay.
What's one thing foreigners should never do in Germany?
Should never do in Germany, not follow the rules. So never cross a red light.
Regeln einhalten.
Genau.
Regeln
Regeln
We
einhalten.
just,
Regeln befolgen, Regeln einhalten.
we just came across this word today morning. We were just looking into some content again, and then we came across this word.
So it was a new channel, and this person he made up a story from ChatGPT with images, and he took the root word halten, and he was literally teaching with the story different use cases of halten.
Okay, so if I invited a group of German friends for a fun evening, what kind of 3 activities would most Germans in the room enjoy?
I would say right now the weather is starting to get better, right? So definitely having a barbecue and playing some board games We also enjoy play a lot of board games and also having conversations, deep conversations, not just small talk, but also we like to have deep talk about what's going on in the world and yeah.
And do you have any favorite board game of yours, like, or some suggestions for us?
So Uno is the classic one, right? If you play Scrabble with German, you can make long words. You might just need one board, but two boards, right? Or three.
Yeah.
So Scrabble is also a nice one. And yeah, I also like Skippo.
Yeah.
It's also Skippo is also a card game with numbers. Yeah.
Played one game. I don't know. It's really German. It's called Love Letter. I don't know if you have heard this.
No.
It's also a fun game.
So card game again.
But you have to like reach the love letter to the princess. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, even I'm not sure if it's really a German game, because I mentioned this even in my class, and like my teacher was like, I don't know this game. So I doubt if it's really a German origin one. Yeah.
But is there any typical German game, the board game that most people buy?
Typical German, I would not say no.
No, right?
They're more like typical German would be playing cards.
The
So, for example, Romme,
okay,
Romme or Skat.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
The real playing cards.
Yeah, the real playing cards. That would be more typical German than a board game. I mean, we love to have board games as well, but I would say really typical German is card games.
Because when it comes to board games, there are like literally many, and every time you
Yeah.
find a new board game, and yes,
Yeah. Or the classical ones, like a chess. Yeah, but this is also international one.
So that's a wrap for our rapid fire. I'll now move to the Pommes question. So since our podcast is the Pommes Box, we have always a Pommes question. So do you, let me ask this first, do you enjoy having pommes?
Yes.
Okay, then we have a nice
and
person.
proceed.
Yeah. If someone visits Germany for the first time, or if they are staying here for a short period, where should they experience the real or the best pommes?
Okay, this is a good question. I would say in Berlin, because we eat pommes usually with currywurst, and currywurst is really typical for Berlin. So it's basically a sausage with a tomato ketchup and curry mixed, right? And mostly if you, for example, if you don't take a curry sausage with pommes, you can also say Pommes rot-weiß. And this is actually quite a German thing as well. You know what's Pommes rot-weiß?
We got to know from one of our other guests. So it's a mixture of ketchup and mayonnaise, right?
Yes, yes. Rot for ketchup and
Yep.
white for mayonnaise. Yeah. It's also quite common to mix both.
And do you have any specific place in Berlin where people can experience this magic?
Any specific place? I would say there are so many different places. There's not one specific one. Like
Okay.
you can get a currywurst, basically a good currywurst, basically anywhere in Berlin. It's
I
because
mean,
it's
they're not so
typical.
popular. So even if you say some name, people are not going to rush to one place.
Yeah,
But this happens with some of the content creators. They recommend something, and that place goes like,
Viral.
and
yeah.
everybody are rushing to that place.
Do you still have a personal favorite restaurant or a place where you have to try good food in Berlin?
Actually, I prefer to eat Döner kebab over currywurst. Yes, and there's a really good Döner at Kurfürstendamm, so Kudamm. Yeah, and it's really great. And actually, the Döner was developed in Berlin, was created here.
Okay.
So
I
there's
thought it
so
was a
many.
Turkish thing.
Yeah, it is. It was developed by a Turkish person, but it's actually the most common street food in Germany.
Yes.
So Germans prefer Döner over all of the German street foods.
Yeah, it does really taste really nice.
Yes.
does.
And yeah, we always make this mit alam joke actually. There is also a joke.
Yes,
With
yes.
alum I mean, I saw it a little late, and I don't know, maybe it is that I saw it late or it took me a while to understand it. I don't know, but that was really funny actually
Yeah.
with alum.
But what do you say normally? Mit alam or mit alles?
Mit allem.
Alam, right?
Yeah.
Because some people they ask mit alles? Mit alles.
Okay, so
Good. So that's finally a wrap. But I just wanted to ask one takeaway question. It's like, what is your final thought on starting to learn German to progress in a very good way? So, what is your final thought for somebody who's like learning German?
The final thought would be to first make sure your vision, right? So to create a vision board. So imagine yourself where you would be if you would speak German, how your life would change, and really always have this vision in mind, because at the beginning you might be really motivated. Oh, I'm learning so many new words. This is so cool. But then you experience the German grammar, the articles, the different cases, the verbs with different prepositions, and your motivation goes slowly down, right? But when you have your vision and your motivation, you say, yes, it might be hard, but I can do this. And it also translates to a lot of other areas in your life, right? So, for example, when I went to the United States when I was only 18, of course I was afraid. Of course I didn't know how I'm going to do it, but I just did it. And then by challenging myself, I also grew a lot in my personality. So if you can really keep this motivation going of learning German, know the reason why you're learning, this would also be beneficial for a lot of other different areas in your life.
Sound advice. So again, Zusammenfassung will be like motiviert sein und durchhalten.
Durchhalten.
Sei mutig. And you're really mutig, actually. Okay,
okay,
so
we'll
that's a
call
wrap.
it. Yeah.
Thank you very much for being on the show and answering all the questions.
And I hope the session here should help a lot of expats and people who are learning German and planning their visit to German. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for adding a lot of value to this episode. Yeah.
Yes,
And
you're
your time
welcome.
as well.
Yeah, thank you for all the time and efforts that you have put and to make this episode a successful one. Yeah. Thank you
Yes,
so
thank you
much.
for having me.